All right, 8:33, everybody. In City Public Schools open today, like we've been telling you, and that also means scholastic sports kicking into high gear.
Yes, we've seen some tragic and scary instances of young athletes collapsing from problems they didn't even know they had. And another important issue is how hot it's been around this time of the week.
Yeah, we're going to talk about these things with Professor Rob Huggins of the Korey Stringer Institute at the University of Connecticut. Is dedicated to preventing sudden death and severe injury in sports.
He is the president of Research and Athletic Performance and Safety. Professor, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great to see you. So let's first start with the heat. I mean, even the professional athletes at the U.S. Open, they're sounding the alarm saying, look, this heat could be deadly. So what particular dangers does this heat create for student athletes out there?
Yeah, so heat is one of the top causes of sudden death in sport. It's actually the highest, it's the leading cause of death in the month of August. And as you can see, we're many of us dealing with heat waves and very hot conditions at this point. So the best thing that you can do is to ensure that you have proper medical care and medical coverage present. So parents at school should be asking if their school has an athletic trainer. They should be asking if there's things like the emergency action plan, and it needs to be a sports-specific emergency action plan. And then for the heat specifically, you need to have a plan in place to prevent and treat that heat-related injury. The prevention starts with monitoring environmental conditions, using a heat stress tracker, and making sure you have a cold water immersion tub in the event that an athlete suffers a heat stroke or a heat-related illness.
Yeah, all good advice, and coaches really should just be aware, right, of what's happening outside. They're pretty much in the know of when to not push the athletes too far and the boundaries here. But let's talk about some of the risk factors here. We've seen LeBron James' son, Bronny, and other athletes really collapse from heart problems that they simply did not know they have, right, because they're so young. You don't think about that in a young teenager. Is there any way to prevent sudden events just like we saw with LeBron's son?
One of the things that you can do is to do some cardiac screening, and there's many organizations available to that will screen your child just to see if there's any underlying causes that might be looming. 76%, a research study in 2019 that we published in the Journal of Athletic Training showed that 76% of youth deaths were cardiac related, and in males in basketball. So we know it's the leading cause of death, and we just need to be sure that we have these emergency action plans. AEDs need to be available within 1 to 3 minutes, and staff and coaches and really anyone around the sport needs to know how to conduct CPR, AED, and activate that plan.
Absolutely. So are there any maybe telltale signs or symptoms that parents could look out for as a sign that there may be something wrong with their child?
Yeah, if your child seems to have shortness of breath, dizziness, confusion, anything that does just kind of seems a little out of the norm relative to other kids. Obviously, if they complain of any sort of chest pain, fainting, or needing to lie down frequently to kind of get that blood back to their main circuit, to their core. So those are some of the things that I would look for. Also, a family history or any other underlying genetic conditions that a family might know about related to a cardiac issue are things that you're going to want to talk to that pediatrician about, and then also let your athletic trainer or your team physician that might be working with a high school or a local area hospital, letting them know that this child has that condition. It doesn't mean that they can't play. It means often that we just have to have certain precautions around that child or that athlete when playing sport, just to have a little bit extra attention given to them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about concussions, right? And especially heading into football season, that's where the conversation is usually surrounding. But let's talk about baseball too. The Yankees' Anthony Rizzo caught a hit in the head last month. So what signs should somebody look out for to tell if they have a concussion, if you think you got hit in the head but it didn't feel too severe?
Yeah, so the mantra we have in sport and athletic training, sports medicine, is when in doubt, sit them out. So if any athlete is showing signs and symptoms of a concussion, which can include a variety of symptoms, dizziness, disorientation, confusion, headache, blurred vision, ringing in the ears. Obviously, you see Rizzo staggering there, just not acting normal. Those around him know him best. that athlete best, and the best thing that you can do is to get them referred to sports medicine or to a physician, someone who's capable of examining that athlete and assessing whether or not they have a concussion, and also determining how quickly that athlete can return to sport.
Right. And Professor, in terms of the infrastructure around these kids, are coaches also trained?
No, they're not. It depends. I should say it depends on which leagues that athlete is working with and where they're playing. Education is lacking across the country in terms of concussion, heat, heart, and what we call hemoglobin or sickle cell trait. So those 4 H's, we call them, are the leading causes of death, and we need to make sure that our coaches and parents and others are very aware of what these symptoms look like, so that they can activate EMS, or if there is an athletic trainer on site, allow them to intervene. And really what you do in the first 10 minutes is going to determine whether or not that child lives or dies.
Yeah, I mean, and just look at what happened with Damar Hamlin, right? It was the medical personnel, the athletic trainers that were there on site giving that life-saving techniques, and that kept him alive, really, right?
Yeah, parents, the best thing you can do is ask your school, ask your state high school athletic associations what policies they have in place and what is required.
Gotcha.
Not recommended. You know, we need to require these things if we want to keep these kids safe and have them home for dinner.
Absolutely. All right, Rob of the Korey Stringer Institute at the University of Connecticut. Appreciate you this morning.
Yes.
Thank you.